From easily overlooked frames that tease the reveal of the real big bad, to throwaway lines giving away the twist early. These are those creepy movie reveals you only notice when sitting down for a rewatch. Gareth here from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 disturbing movie reveals you only notice rewatching. Oh yeah, and spoilers incoming.
Want to stay safe online and save big? Get up to 76% off a 2-year NordVPN plan, plus 4 months free and up to a $50 Amazon gift card. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description and it's all yours.
Number 10, you can briefly see Duke's phone is in Miles' back pocket. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. The billionaire alpha co-founder known as Miles Bron didn't do the best job of covering his tracks during Glass Onion. As revealed by the brilliant Benoit Blanc, not only did Miles murder his ex-business partner Andy, Bron was also responsible for killing his pal Duke on his island. Blanc deduces that Duke must have discovered the truth about Andy's death before his own demise. Bron then seized his phone and gun after poisoning the big lad with pineapple juice, something he was deathly allergic to, doing the former in a bid to keep the gang from learning Duke knew of Andy's end via Google Alert before his own sudden death. And what do you know, when you revisit the shocking moment Duke surprisingly drops, get a good look at Edward Norton's behind. No, not for that reason. Get your head out the gutter. As he darts away from the group searching for Duke's phone on his person, said object can very much be seen in his back pocket long before Blanc discovers it in the film's closing stages. Just like Miles being an idiot throughout, this now rather obvious hint at him being behind the disturbing death was staring both the audience and Blanc in the face. Number 9, no incoming calls allowed hints at one hell of a twist. Fight Club. 1999's classic David Fincher flick Fight Club eventually sees the reveal of the narrator and Tyler Durden surprisingly being the same person all along. This meant that the narrator was actually the one sleeping with Marla and the mind behind Project Mayhem. However, on a number of occasions over the course of this cult hit, Fincher definitely made it clear that something rather strange was going on underneath the surface. Things like the odd flash of Durden and the narrator being pulled out of the driver's side post-car crash, despite Tyler initially being seen driving, all alluded to the aforementioned big reveal. But perhaps the most freaky clue comes during the moment the narrator opts to give Durden a call on a payphone after his apartment blows up. Durden initially doesn't pick up, but said phone then suddenly begins to ring and the narrator answers. A closer look at said box on a rewatch, though, reveals the words "no incoming calls allowed" written in bold on it. Though you likely missed it during your first viewing of the controversial 90s project, Fincher was letting you know once again that there was more to this disturbing story than meets the eye. Number 8, the real reason Adelaide didn't want to go to the beach. Us. After wandering around a spooky house of mirrors at the Santa Cruz Beach boardwalk, a young Adelaide suddenly comes face to face with her doppelganger, and looks understandably a little shook up. However, it's only revealed late on that the young girl we're initially introduced to here ended up being forcibly replaced by said double Red. But about an hour or so before that creepy development is confirmed on screen, the apparent Addie gives off a few clues as to who she really is that are only detectable on a rewatch. With the family planning on heading to the Santa Cruz Beach during their vacation, fake Addie clearly isn't into the idea. Eventually her hubby Gabe is able to convince her it's a good call, but only if they leave before dark. When revisiting Jordan Peele's eerie masterpiece, this reluctance to return to the scene of her swap acts as the first delicious breadcrumb on the road to learning the red truth. Number 7, Emil Mondavarius itches suggest a big reveal is coming. ScoobyDoo. While still technically a family film, the late reveal of Scrappy-Doo being the evil pup sitting within a mechanical Emil Mondavarius is still a little disturbing to watch all these years later. But that hilariously shocking turn of events was actually hinted at a little earlier in the 2002 live-action Scooby-Doo madness. When the spooky island owner is spotted wondering what spooked the titular canine after a mid-film piano performance, Mondavarius does something that pretty much gives away the twist there and then. The way he scratches behind his ear here is pretty similar to the way a dog would do that very same thing. But when taking in the flick for the first time, you'd be forgiven for thinking Rowan Atkinson's character just had a nervous tic he couldn't control in the moment. and most weren't exactly quick to jump to the conclusion of the little egomaniac being the one behind the soul-stealing plot on the island. However, once you learn exactly which irritating pooch was sitting within this villainous bot all along, this initially missed puppy-powered hint sticks out like a Scooby snack in the middle of a bag of chips. Number 6, a piece of Grandma Armitage is there for all to see. Get out! Long before the Armitage's sinister brain-swapping scheme is revealed, Chris is given a tour of his girlfriend Rose's family home by her father Dean in Get Out. And it's during this wander around the house that Chris is shown everything from family photos to souvenirs a gracious Dean has picked up on his travels. But it's the kitchen stop on the journey that brings with it a staggering reveal on a rewatch. Dean explains to his daughter's partner that his mother loved her kitchens, so they keep a piece of her in here. The camera then lingers rather uncomfortably as Georgina, one of the Armitage's housekeepers, greets Chris. It eventually becomes known that not only had the Armitages been offering their creepy service to people outside of the family, but Rose's grandparents had also both undergone this procedure, and none other than Georgina was actually possessed by Rose's grandmother, Marianne. So when Dean was talking about keeping a piece of his mother in her beloved kitchen, fans initially didn't realize just how accurate this disturbing statement really was. Number 5, a random message from Sev Ohanian reveals the disturbing twist: missing. Following on from the success of their last screen-life slice of thriller action known as Searching, Anish Chaganty and Sev Ohanian once again helped bring another screen-stuff mystery to life by the name of Missing. And as with that prior entry, the gang simply could not resist dropping a blatant ending spoiler right in the middle of the action for all to see. But with so much information often being thrown at audiences whenever a social media or messaging app springs up on screen during these unique flicks, the average Joe or Jane regularly doesn't stand a chance of clocking one of these secret revelations on a first viewing. During Searching, an email sent by Ohanian himself in David Kim's inbox subtly reveals that his daughter was likely being catfished by the Fish and Chips character. And just like that turned out to be the case, Ohanian once again dropped an easily missed twist reveal in Missing, with his text message to June midway through the film explaining that her mom had been lying to her and her father was not dead at all. Sure enough, that disturbing detail turns out to be the truth later down the road, as it's explained that June's mom Grace had been trying to protect her daughter from the truth of her paps actually being an abusive piece of work. Simply put, if you see Ohanian's name pop up on screen, there's a good chance a monumental spoiler is heading your way. Number 4, Tess was warned by some house graffiti, Barbarian. After making it to the rental house she was staying at before her job interview the next day, Tess Marshall eventually ends up spending the night in the place with a stranger called Keith Toshko. Despite being a little concerned about the idea of entering the place and sleeping in the same building as a man she's only just met, Tess just about gets through the night early on in Barbarian. When she finally sets out for her interview the following morning though, her bedroom door randomly opening in the middle of the night turns out to be the least of her troubles. The entire neighborhood around the home is completely battered and abandoned. And Tess is soon informed at her interview that this area of Brightmoor is not safe at all. It's eventually revealed that a deformed woman has been living beneath the house in a tunnel, with this mother being the result of a man known as Frank abducting and then keeping various women captive underground over the years. Said shocking reveal of the mother hiding below was actually hinted at all the way back when Tess first stepped outside of the home in the morning, however. Though easily missed on a first-time viewing, one of the buildings opposite clearly having the words "Death from Below" spray painted across it stands out that little bit more on a rewatch. The lesson here: do your research before committing to your Airbnb, folks. Number 3, Mother's unmoving body reveals that ending, Psycho. And while on the subject of mothers, one of the most famous and disturbing twists of all time is actually displayed for all to see earlier in the Psycho drama. Not too long before discovering that Norman Bates killed his mother 10 years ago, and had been treating her corpse as if it were alive ever since, the disturbed man can be heard having an argument with her inside her bedroom. And after squabbling a while, Norman eventually carries his frustrated mother, who can be heard telling him to let go of her, down to the fruit cellar. Though it's evident here that said mother had been replaced with a mannequin for this shot. On a first watch, your mind simply assumes Alfred Hitchcock had Anthony Perkins carry a dummy down the stairs, as it would have likely been easier than trying to have him lug an actual human for a few takes. But when revisiting this particularly surreal beat, it soon becomes clear that this was anything but a botched attempt at disguising a life-size doll. It was actually a subtle way of telling the audience that this rather stiff-looking mother was indeed very much not alive at this point. Number 2, the invisible glass of water hints at things not being as they seem, Shutter Island. It's ultimately revealed that Shutter Island's central figure Edward Teddy Daniels is actually Andrew Laedis, with the US Marshal being imprisoned on the titular island for killing his mentally ill wife after she murdered their children, and creating said other persona out of guilt. And while this may come as quite the shock as you come to the end of your first watch of the 2010 masterpiece, the clues are definitely all there during a revisit. Perhaps the most blatant hint at things not being what they seem in Ashcliffe Hospital for the Criminally Insane comes during Daniels and partner Chuck's interviews with various patients and nurses about the disappearance of Rachel Solando. With Chuck actually being Teddy's primary psychiatrist, Dr. Sheehan, the way one particular nurse glances at Chuck when discussing Sheehan with Daniels, and Chuck's awkward reaction in the moment, both stand out on a rewatch. Not long after that, guards are also visible behind Teddy and various inmates during their interview sessions, whilst no one appears to be stood over Chuck's shoulder. A coincidence? I think not. And the fact another patient proceeds to drink an invisible glass of water before she places an actual glass down in the next shot also subtly tells viewers that there's something off about this particular investigation early on. Number 1, a scream suggests something creepy is going on in the house, the girl with the dragon tattoo. During the 2011 big screen adaptation of Stieg Larsson's The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, there comes a moment when investigative journalist Mikael Blomkvist visits the home of the missing Harriet Vanger's brother Martin, and it's here when a sharp noise is briefly heard mid-dinner, with everyone acknowledging the odd sound before Martin references a window being left open. Martin then disappears as a few other whistling noises echo around the house, and is heard shutting something in the distance. Later on in the film though, the source of said noises is finally and quite disturbingly revealed. On the back of learning that Martin and his father were behind a string of murders over the last few decades, Blomkvist is captured by the former and eventually wakes up inside of a basement. Here, Martin explains that the screams heard during the pair's dinner actually belonged to his next victim, who was locked in that very same basement at that exact moment. Just like that, a weird but not all that shocking sound is given a whole new meaning when choosing to rewatch David Fincher's disturbing thriller.